Hello, everybody. My name is Anthony Jones, and I'm going to be talking about what the Creative Juice Expo is all about. So, a lot of people have been asking, so what's going to be going on at this event? What's going to happen? And so I'm going to talk about it briefly, and hopefully this will give you enough information to help you be a little more informed on what you can expect. Okay, so let's do this. Let's get started. So, one of the main inspirations of this expo is to get you in front of people that are not only creative and have jobs or have had work jobs, but also to put you in front of people that have found ways to, educate themselves or others in terms of how to make your own business or how to make a job outside of your normal job in which you can make extra money or money that is your main source of income, right? Basically become your own boss and really give you an alternative route. So let's talk about what I mean by that. Well, one of the main reasons is that today, they say you got to get a college degree, and once you get a college degree, you're in. You'll get a job, and then life will be great. But the reality is when you go to these schools and you spend tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars, you end up with no job. And it sucks because you had this ambition, you had this idea, you had this strategy, and you end up realizing that it doesn't work that way, right? Because what really happens is that there's very few jobs. Like there's a guy who says, hey, there's 20,000 positions open around the states, and one school alone, has 20,000 students. So how do these numbers do not match up? And this is just one school. Right? You can imagine if you start adding up all the other schools that go all around the world, you start to realize that there's a lot of people, but not a lot of jobs. And this is what ends up happening is that you end up going to these schools, you don't get a job, you realize the truth of the world, and you have these crazy loans. And so you only really have another option. Say, hey, come back to school, get your master's or, get your higher education, or you stay unemployed, right? And what Creative Juice, our goal with this expo is to not just to say, hey, you don't have to stay unemployed, you don't have to become a student again. You can actually learn from this expo, which we're going to have, from people who have found alternatives, who found other options in terms of making income. Because some of us who have been in this position, sometimes we have to fall tremendously far down to really find those new opportunities and alternatives. And I think people should know the truth, right? And so this is what the goals are. Some of the goals. One of the goals is to educate people with facts, not a lot of speculative stuff, like something that actually happened based off of people's experience, people's failures, and people's success. I want people to understand that what you're hearing from is from real events from these people and from the speakers. And you get to have an opportunity to see their kind of products and talk with them and really get an opportunity to really sit down and be able to say, oh, okay, so everything I was taught in school was a lie, or not. Maybe you're going to a good school that actually tries to educate you. But one thing I also want to do specifically about failures and success is have people understand that with failure and success comes more failures, and comes more success. That it's a loop. There is no, once you've reached here, you're done with your life and everything's great. No, it comes. It's a loop effect, and you have to be prepared for that and expect that and just live with it because it's gonna happen. But that's how how it works. And I want to educate people with this type of information from all kinds of artists, not just from myself. And I want to also inspire people's creativeness. And so I want people to be able to come in there and also become a lot more creative and really embrace who they are as creative people. Because when you go through the education system, sometimes what happens is that people will tell you what you should be doing because it will get you the job. But as I pointed out earlier, it's not entirely true. So what we're going to be doing is really helping people understand, stay steadfast, be resilient with your ideals and what you think makes things good, but at the same time be able to evolve, like be able to know that when you hear good feedback that it is good feedback, and learn from people, like from the artists and from the creative people in this event. Learn from them on their experiences, on how they evolved, the kinds of feedback that they have received, and have this opportunity to talk with them and even have your chance to evolve from these people that you may admire, and be proud of your product. One thing that I think ends up happening is some people do end up following this career path, and they think they know what they got, and then a publisher comes in there and tells them, no, everything's wrong, you should do it this way, and they say, oh, okay, and then they go and do it, and then sure enough, they sell out. So what we're trying to say is, don't sell out. All right, and so another thing that I want to start talking about is other things that people don't teach you, which is building and maintaining a fan base. This is something that is not necessarily taught in schools. And being smart about your business, actually knowing how to handle, clients, and knowing how to actually run a business, a successful business, or to avoid some tremendous, things. And all of us have experienced these things, but when you start a business, it starts becoming a lot more real. And then last, I want people to stay honest. I want people to understand that you can become an honest entrepreneur. You can become someone who builds their career honestly and earnestly, and make the kinds of money that you would want to maintain the lifestyle and the kind of maintain the wealth that you admire towards. Because right now people say, hey, if you're only successful if you got like tens and billions of people buying your buying your stuff yearly, and if that's the case for every single person, I don't think that's true, because the reality that I've come to personally is that you could reach tens of thousands of people within a year, and you don't even have to sell your product for actually a very high market. You don't have to sell at a very high price point. You can actually sell it for cheaper, and actually still maintain a really sustainable lifestyle. It might not you might not be rolling in Rolls Royces and driving in yachts, but driving Bugattis and flying your own personal jets. But hey, not everybody wants that, and sometimes people who actually do have these things don't care for them. Wealth isn't necessarily determined by how much money you make. It's about how much stuff that you have in your life that you actually love and care about. And sometimes it's just the things you do is what you care about. And so this is what we're all about, and I think this is what people need to start learning. These are the types of things that people need to start sculpting their minds around, instead of the old model. It's slowly dying, and people are being very aware of this. And I want to be a part of it, and I want to kind of put people together, and that's what this whole event's about. So if you want more information, please go to creativejuiceexpo.com, and right there you'll find all the ticket sales. You'll be able to find where it's going to be at, who's going to be talking, and all the great information that we have for you is going to be there. And you can also email us there and get a hold of us on a personal level, and we'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. But thanks for your time, and I hope this inspires you. And trust us, we'll be making more events, so if you miss one or we miss another, it's fine. We'll try to have these all available for you guys to come see. And thanks.